So in our last couple of videos, we've gone through and talked about the interface, how to draw basic lines, but now we want to go through and actually give shape and size to things. Because without that, none of what we're doing here really matters. Everything needs to have a size or what's called a dimension, where you can measure the size and know exactly what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Part, and once that loads up, we're going to go to Start 2D Sketch, and we're going to click on our XY plane, also known as our front view. From there, just like we've done before, we're going to go to the line tool, but this time we're going to tell what size the lines need to be. And there's a couple ways to do this. So I'm going to cover them in this video, and then we're going to talk about it in our next video as well, going through a little bit different of a way to do this. So to begin with, we're going to go in and we're going to make a completely vertical line. We're going to start at our origin and click once, and we're going to move up, and then we're going to click again. And we're moving perfectly up. You'll notice that it says 90 degrees on the right hand side there. That means we are at 90 degrees. It's perfectly straight up. I'm going to click once. I'm going to move my mouse over. And again, I'm at 90 degrees and I'll click again. I'm going to go down to our x-axis, click, and then I'm going to move back over to our origin and click again. Now that I've done that, I've been back at my origin. I have everything ready to go. So I'm going to click escape, and that's going to exit out of my drawing tools. Now you'll notice a couple things about the lines that I drew. Number one, I have two bluish lines here. Now they are blue for a reason, and we're going to talk about what that is. And then we have two green lines, and we're going to talk about what those are. Basically, what the blue means is that there's a constraint or a rule on those lines. Right now, there's a rule saying that this line is locked on the axis and has to be 90 degrees, or it's on the y-axis. And this one is on the x-axis and it is locked to that axis. So basically, no matter what I do, I can't change them. Now these ones right here are also locked as far as the degrees. We set them at 90 degrees, so each one is at 90 degrees to each other, but we can change the size of them and we can kind of go through and play with them as we want there. Now, if we want to lock them all down, we need to add what's called dimension. And if you take a look down here at the bottom right-hand corner, it will say that there are 2 dimensions needed. And again, dimensions are just sizes. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the dimension button, which is kind of towards the top center of your page. I'll click on that, and I have it selected once. It doesn't change what your mouse looks like. I'm going to move over to one of these lines. When I move over, you'll notice that it highlights. Now, I want to make sure I don't click on the middle of that line. It can cause problems sometimes, so make sure you're on the edge of the line, not all the way on the point, but on the edge. I'm going to click once, and I'm going to move my mouse over. Once I do that, I can say I want this to be a ½ inch. So I'm going to type in 0.5 and hit enter. Now, this line that I just drew here is a ½ inch tall. I'm going to do the same thing with this bottom line. So I'm going to move over. I can click on the bottom of it, move down, click again, and I want to type in 0.5. And now I have a square. You notice all of my lines now have turned blue or purple, depending on your screen settings. And that's basically because if this line's a ½ inch, this one is parallel, and it also is set at a 90-degree angle up here. It has to be the same height as this one. The same goes here. This is a width of 0.5. This one must be a 0.5 width in order to be set up. From there, I can finish my sketch. I can go through and extrude it, and I can say, hey, I want this to be 0.5 and make a perfect cube. So I have that there, and then I can just rotate around and see my beautiful perfect cube. No problems as far as we go there. But let's go back in and edit our sketch. So I'm going to right click on sketch 1 and I'll edit my sketch, and I'm doing this from the browser, and I'm going to delete these. So I have nothing selected right now. I'm going to click on that 0.5 so that it's highlighted, and I'll hit the delete key on my keyboard. I'm going to do the same thing down here on the bottom one. There are other ways to add dimensions. You can go through and you can add it from the endpoint to the endpoint. So I can add that as 0.5, or I can add it from one side to the other. It does the same thing. So there's multiple ways to go through and draw those. If I wanted to as well, when I'm creating my lines, I can go through and add all of my dimensions right away. If I know what the dimensions are, it's really easy to do so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect my dimension tool by hitting escape. And then I'm going to go through and delete everything. So I'll click, hold, and drag to hit the red box, and then I'll hit delete, and it gets rid of everything. I'm going to go back to the line tool at this point. I'm going to click once on my origin, and I'm going to move up. But you'll notice that area highlighted in kind of a bluish purple there. All I have to do is type in the dimension that I want. I want this to be 0.5, and then I'll hit enter. And it automatically adds the dimension for me. And I can keep doing this. So I can go and say 0.5. We can go down here, making sure it's at 90 degrees. Say I want that to be 0.5. And this one, I also want to be 0.5. And when I go through there, it will go through and add everything in for me, but you'll notice this one right here has a parentheses on it. What that basically means is that it's over constrained. It's too many dimensions. I don't need all of those dimensions. If I click on it and then delete it, I'm fine and it's fully constrained and all of my lines are happy. When you're beginning working in Inventor, you want to kind of make sure that all of your lines are set, and when you dimension them, that they all turn to that bluish purple color. If you've done that, you've done your job correctly, and it's a good way to go ahead and use practice drawings to get everything set up. Once you get involved in Inventor a little bit more, you're occasionally going to have lines that aren't that color, but for beginning purposes, when you're making parts or going through and designing things to begin with, you want to make sure that everything turns that purple blue color, and that'll make sure everything works for you. Any questions, let me know. I hope to see you in our next video.